The impetus to take on mitigation projects is both a regulatory requirement, but it's also what the Nature Conservancy does. If there were no regulations on wetlands, because of all the important things that wetlands provide for us, the Nature Conservancy would still be very much focused on stream and wetland conservation and restoration.
When a permit applicant identifies their project will impact a wetland or stream, they must first avoid, minimize, and then compensate for those impacts. Our program is a form of compensating for those impacts. We provide credits to developers. They provide funds for us. We take on the obligation to restore or enhance or protect wetlands and streams in the appropriate watershed of the impacts. We then use TNC science, TNC staff, lots of our partners to identify appropriate projects throughout Virginia. So we are siting projects on resilient and connected landscapes. We are siting them in targeted areas that are conservation priorities for the Nature Conservancy or for our conservation partners. We're working with landowners, we're working with partners, and then we are developing, implementing, constructing, monitoring, managing, and protecting in the long term these projects.
With our stream restoration projects, we are restoring the sites, but we aren't trying to go back to a previous time. Because the watersheds have changed so much over time, we can't recreate the stream that was here, hundreds of years ago when the entire watershed was forested. So we try to design a system today that can be stable with the influences from the watershed, the water that's coming in, the flow rates, and the volumes of water that's coming in. So we can't always go back to sort of the pre-condition, but we create a stable system in its current condition.
We have one of the strongest, most flourishing private mitigation markets in the country and the strongest in-lieu fee program run by the Nature Conservancy. And what's odd compared to some states is that they coexist versus battle each other. And the reason that's happened is because mitigation bankers have understood that the economics are not such that they could actually provide mitigation in many parts of the state due to low demand. So let's have a structure where an in-lieu fee program could work and serve those areas. They coexist purposely and structurally.
A lot of the restoration occurs on private land, and the Nature Conservancy is best in class in working with private landowners. These are willing landowners that want to do protection either through incentives or just personal motivation to make sure that their property is doing the best that it can for nature. So the Nature Conservancy sits down with the landowner, presents a number of programs that might be utilized to protect their property and restore the values of nature that are important to the greater conservation community, but certainly the Nature Conservancy. And through that negotiation and that presentation of tools, an agreement is reached, and then the implementation begins.
So our ideal project has a variety of factors going on. First, it's in a place that's going to be resilient long term. It's a conservation priority that has impacts for a broader region rather than just that one site. And we also have partners who might be interested in stewarding and maintaining that land or owning that land after we implement the project. But it really starts with where the science tells us that project will be resilient and impactful long into the future.
These projects involve a lot of analysis and a lot of data and a lot of modeling because we don't want it to just be stable for the small rain events. It really needs to be stable even up to 100-year storms ideally. So there's a lot that goes into it. The engineering plans are 50 pages before we can really flesh out all the details and have a design that can be constructed. There's a lot that goes into it.
So when you first do the site, it looks a little messy, right? You're seeing a lot of soil potentially being moved, and you're getting rid of some of those invasives that might have already been present, and you're coming back in and you're getting that appropriate elevation and planting other native species. Right away, you might start to see that hydrology improve. And then in the next couple of years, you're going to see that vegetation come in. And around that time, you're getting all the other wildlife associated with it. And so it's kind of building up. As soon as you bring back the hydrology, you're bringing back all that other function of the wetland.
Some of the data that I collect includes species composition in the ecosystems, especially native versus non-native plants, making sure that wetland plants, plants that need to grow in inundated or saturated systems, are growing there. I'm looking at the groundwater levels a lot of times. It would be nice if it would be just kind of hands-off, but we really have to be there to constantly monitor it to make sure that it's going in the direction that we want it to go.
One of the key signs for success of your project is that your vegetation has gotten established and the hydrology is present. You can see the water. But then it's looking at all the biological response. You see the bugs coming in, the dragonflies, the frogs. Frogs seem to be one of the first amphibians to get in because then they lay their eggs, and then you've got your tadpoles out there. And then a lot of other things come in that eat those frogs. You know, basically you're creating the foundation of the food web.
These projects have immense value collectively, and that is for these ecosystems and the resiliency of the functioning of our wetlands and streams. But they also have value that is different from project to project and means different things to those local communities. And that's the beauty of this, is that all together they contribute collectively these massive, important benefits for all of us as a whole, but then individually provide beautiful, varied benefits to each local community.
I think it's critical for restoration projects to have public access and have public involvement, because it's the only way we're going to educate people as to why these resources are something that need to be protected and preserved and restored. Without that, there's just not going to be any public interest in such requirements in the future.
The work we're doing now is hugely beneficial for today as well as for future generations, and we're creating spaces that our children and our grandchildren will be able to continue to appreciate because they're permanently protected. They're going to continue to mature and grow, and the benefits are really long-lasting.
Over the course of 30 years, our program has been considered and is considered a model program, and it is often exported to other states, other organizations who are interested in doing things like this. I have seen these projects, the trees, the systems grow up into mature, successful, functioning systems that you would not know were degraded or impaired when we first started. Those contributions, the success of the program, that's what makes me most proud.